Hello, my name is Tom Vasallo, and thank you for taking the time to learn about our long-term care planning summary. The long-term care planning summary is what we created MRW Financial Brokerage as part of our long-term care planning toolkit to help you present the planning solutions for your client. These are based on asset-based long-term care plans. This planning summary can be requested from MRW Financial. We will prepare it along with all of the underlying illustrations. And here's the cover of the long-term care planning summary. As you can see, it's personalized for your client. In this case, it's John and Jane Smith. They're both age 60 years old, and we're showing them the different planning solutions when it comes to asset-based long-term care. But more than just the illustrations, it's telling the story of long-term care and helping establish the need for long-term care. Hopefully, when you initially met with our client, you used our long-term care planning guide to set the scene. There's a questionnaire in there that you complete in that long-term care planning guide, and you can submit that to us in order to get a personalized long-term care planning summary for your client. On the first page, these are important needs, and there's videos in here. You can either click on the videos, or if you print it out, your clients can scan the QR codes. And they don't have to watch each video, even though we will. They're 1 to 2 minutes long. It depends on their situation. For example, the first video here is on spouses and the impact a long-term care need has on a spouse. In this example, we'll use if the husband needs care. You wouldn't need to watch this video if you were talking to a single person, but if you are talking to a married couple, it's important to establish the need. A lot of times when we talk about long-term care, it's the women that are driving this sale, and we've got to make this real for the husband. So let's take a look at this brief video on spouses.
I never imagined our lives would change like this. I love my husband dearly, but caring for him every day is harder than I ever expected. Every day brings new challenges. The physical work is exhausting. Some days it feels like there's no break, no time to rest. And then there's the money, all these medical bills, the cost of care, the medications. I worry about what's going to happen to our savings. Will we have enough? It's not just the physical and financial strain. It's emotional, too. Some nights, I feel like I'm losing a piece of myself, that I'm disappearing into this role of caregiver. I realized I couldn't do this alone. Planning ahead for long-term care became the lifeline I didn't know I needed. The fact we spoke with someone that helped us plan ahead for care helps me make sense of it all today and gives me hope. We needed a plan, something that would protect us financially, so I could focus on caring for him without worrying about losing everything we've worked for. Since we have a plan in place, I can care for my husband without that constant fear hanging over me. I can be present for him and still take care of myself. Planning for long-term care isn't just about the future. It's about finding peace in the present. Don't wait. Start planning now. It's not easy, but with the right plan, you can get through it, stronger, together.
Now, if your client also has children, and many of them do, and they're purchasing, or planning for long-term care so they don't become a burden on their children. A lot of times the children, when they're talking about long-term care, will say, "Don't worry, Mom, don't worry, Dad, I will be there for you if you need it. You raised me, you were there for me, I will be there for you." And I'm sure most people's children will. And what this is going to do is it's going to establish the burden that it puts on children. So if your client has adult children, and if you think that they may be wanting to rely on their children to provide care, play this video for them.
Every day starts the same. Getting my kids ready for school, checking in on my parents, making sure everyone's okay before heading off to work. I'm constantly juggling. Work, my kids, my parents. It feels like there's never enough time. And the hardest part? I'm the one holding everything together while my siblings live far away, unable to help. I've had to make some tough choices. Cutting back at work, missing promotions. Even thinking about whether we need to move closer to my parents. I don't know how long I can keep going like this. My kids need me too. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing them because so much of my energy goes into caring for my parents. I wish we had planned for this sooner. Long-term care, managing costs, finding outside help. It's all so overwhelming, and I'm realizing too late how much easier things could have been if we had prepared. Getting help to plan for my parents' care has given me hope. I don't have to do this all alone anymore. There are options that can protect their savings and give me the support I need. Planning for long-term care isn't just about money. It's about peace of mind. It's about making sure I can care for my parents without losing myself, my job, or my time with my own family. If you're approaching retirement, don't wait. Start planning for long-term care now, before the decisions become too overwhelming. Start planning today to protect your future and the ones you love.
Now, in situations where they have multiple children, especially when all of the children don't live locally, this video talks about the family dynamics that are involved in long-term care, and really how long-term care and the burden of long-term care doesn't fall equally among children, and the lasting impact it can have on their family.
Caring for aging parents can bring families together, but all too often, it tears them apart. When caregiving responsibilities aren't shared equally among siblings, it creates resentment and stress for the one shouldering the burden. The demands of caregiving often fall on one child, usually the one who lives closest or is seen as the most available, while the others continue with their lives. This imbalance in caregiving duties can lead to deep-seated resentment, putting strain on relationships not just within the family, but within the caregiver's own household. Proactively planning for long-term care can ease the burden of care, ensuring that the responsibility is shared more equitably. It can also provide financial support, preventing one sibling from sacrificing their career, finances, and well-being. When families plan ahead, they can avoid the conflicts that arise from unequal caregiving, preserving relationships and family harmony. Proactive long-term care planning isn't just about finances, it's about protecting relationships. It's about making sure that caregiving is a shared responsibility, not a burden placed on one. Start planning for long-term care now to preserve what truly matters, your family's well-being and harmony. Don't let caregiving drive your family apart. Let us help you create a long-term care plan that works for everyone.
Now, again, for a married couple, we need to make this real. And what would a long-term care confinement mean to your spouse? What would it mean if we had to spend $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 a month on care while our spouses are attempting to maintain a healthy retirement lifestyle and retirement security as well? So, if that's a concern for your client, make sure they watch this on how it can impact their retirement income.
When we envisioned retirement, we pictured it filled with travel, family gatherings, and enjoying the home we worked so hard to build. But life changed. My husband's memory started slipping, and with time, his need for care has only deepened. The reality of providing that care, the constant expenses, was something I just wasn't prepared for. I never thought I'd be here, looking at our savings with a sense of dread, wondering how long it will last. The care he needs is constant and complex, and while I would give him everything, I'm terrified of what it might cost us both in the long run. It's the hardest part of this journey, watching what we saved for decades start to slip away, month by month, with every new bill. The financial burden of his care keeps me up at night wondering, will I have enough to take care of him and still support myself? Will I be forced to sacrifice my own well-being just to make it through? If only we had known. There are ways to prepare for this, to structure our funds in a way that would have supported his care without risking everything we built. Options like asset-based solutions that could help cover long-term care costs without draining what I need to live on. I'm telling this story because I don't want others to go through this same fear, to face this same uncertainty. By planning ahead, by exploring solutions that protect against the unexpected, you can secure both care for your loved one and the peace of mind for yourself. Don't wait to plan for the unknown. Protect your family, your finances, and your future.
Now, many of the people that plan proactively for long-term care do so because they've seen it in their family. They've seen the impact it's had. Many times they've seen a parent or an aunt or an uncle have a long-term care confinement, and they've seen that the government is not there, Medicare isn't there. Medicaid's a safety net if they have no assets, but Medicaid isn't available until you spend down your assets, and they don't understand the length of care. And this video will help explain the length of care to your clients.
My husband was always the strong one, the one who made sure everything was taken care of. But now, everything has changed. His health is declining, and suddenly, I'm faced with the unimaginable: how to cover the costs of his care. And the hardest part? I have no idea how long this will last. Will he need care for a year? 2 years? Or will it be much longer? It's the uncertainty that scares me most. This isn't just about finding the right care. It's about how to pay for it every single month. The unpredictability of long-term care makes it impossible to know how much we'll really need. Planning for care is like staring into the unknown. 1 year of care is expensive enough, but what if it's 5, 10, or 12 years? What if our savings can't keep up? Without a clear timeline, how do I manage our cash flow without running out of money? Every month, I'm forced to withdraw more from our savings. I see our retirement slowly slipping away. The rising costs, the uncertainty of how long it will last, it's a heavy weight to carry. What if I outlive our savings? What if there's nothing left for me? Planning for long-term care isn't just about having enough today, it's about making sure you have enough tomorrow. Without a plan in place, this unpredictable journey can drain everything we've worked for. It's not just about care for my husband. It's about securing my future too. We never thought about this when we were younger. But now I see that planning early could have given us the stability and peace of mind we desperately need. By putting a plan in place, we could have preserved our savings and avoided this overwhelming uncertainty. I'm sharing this because I want others to understand. You don't know how long your loved one will need care, but you can plan for it. Don't wait until it's too late. Plan now. Protect your future and protect the ones you love.
Now, most people who are planning for long-term care, they have assets to protect. If there are no assets, Medicaid is there for them as a safety net. But they don't understand the need for long-term care if they haven't been through it. And if they haven't seen their parents go through it, they may not be likely to plan for long-term care. These pages here are really meant to help establish that need for individuals that haven't been through it. And what is increasing the long-term care need in this country? One of those things is life expectancy. And many people have already outlived their parents and they haven't planned for long-term care. Increased life expectancy is increasing the need for long-term care, and this video will help get that point across.
When I look back at how much life has changed from our grandparents' time to now, it's remarkable. In 1800, most people didn't live beyond their 40s. But today, we're often living into our 80s, 90s, and beyond. Life expectancy has doubled. And while that's a beautiful gift, it comes with a new reality that most of us aren't prepared for. Living longer means more time with our loved ones, more experiences, more memories. But it also means a higher chance of needing long-term care. The truth is, as we age, our bodies change, and sometimes we need a little or a lot of extra help. Today, nearly 70% of people over 65 will require some form of long-term care. For a couple, that means there is a 91% chance that one or both of you will need long-term care, and only a 9% chance that neither of you will need care. It's something none of us want to imagine, needing care for months, maybe even years. But if we live long enough, the chances are high that we will. Planning for that possibility isn't just practical, it's necessary. Without a plan, the burden of care often falls on our family, adding stress to their lives and impacting their own financial stability. I don't want my family to carry that weight. The costs of care, both emotional and financial, can be overwhelming. And the reality is, without planning, it can drain everything we've saved, leaving our loved ones with difficult decisions and unforeseen responsibilities. By planning for long-term care today, I can make sure that, if I ever need it, my family won't have to worry. There are options out there, like asset-based long-term care solutions, that can help cover these costs without depleting everything we've worked for. Solutions that ensure my loved ones can focus on what truly matters, not on how to make ends meet. This isn't just about me. It's about protecting my family, ensuring that they don't have to face these challenges alone. When we plan ahead, we're giving them a future where they're supported, no matter what happens. We can't predict what life will bring, but we can prepare. We can reduce the emotional and financial stress that comes with aging simply by planning for it now. And that is a gift worth giving.
With that increased life expectancy, we're seeing an increase in cognitive issues such as Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And unfortunately, those are the type of conditions that physically you're healthy and you still may live a long life, but because of cognitive issues, you cannot be left alone. You require supervision, and it may be a spouse that's initially supervising you and progress from home care to assisted living, memory care, and eventually nursing home. And this video will help communicate that.
I remember when we first found out. The doctor explained that my husband has the early stages of Alzheimer's. At first, it didn't even seem real. How could it? He still remembers so much, still laughs at our favorite jokes. But I can see it. The little moments where he's lost or can't recall something he once knew by heart. The hardest part? It's not just the diagnosis. It's the uncertainty. I don't know how fast this will progress. Will he need someone by his side constantly a year from now? 5 years from now? Or will he stay independent for a while longer? The only certainty is that he'll need more help as time goes on. And there's the question of cost. How long will we need to pay for his care? How much of our retirement savings will be used up by this? We've worked our whole lives to save, to prepare for a comfortable retirement together. But now, it feels like we're standing on shifting sand, with no idea how deep this might go. Care isn't just one thing. There's in-home care, assisted living, memory care. Each option comes with its own price tag. The costs vary, and as he needs more support, they only increase. How do I choose the right path? And how do I make sure we have enough to afford it without depleting everything we've saved? I'm sharing this because I wish we had thought about this sooner. I wish we had planned for what we couldn't see coming. I know now how important it is to have a long-term care plan, especially with something as unpredictable as Alzheimer's. A plan that's more than just savings, something that could protect what we have while making sure he gets the care he'll need, whatever that might look like. If you're listening, and if you're blessed to have your health, please, don't wait. Talk to someone about long-term care options. Look into solutions that could ease the burden, give you flexibility, and help you preserve what you've worked so hard to build. You never know when life will change, but you can be prepared for it. Consider planning for long-term care today, for peace of mind tomorrow.
Once again, people that haven't been through long-term care, and they may feel that, what's the chances I'm going to need long-term care? For a married couple, there's actually a 91% chance that one or both of them will need long-term care. This video is going to help communicate that issue to your client.
When I think about the future, one thing that weighs on my mind is the possibility that one of us might need long-term care. For couples like us, over 65, The statistics are eye-opening. There's a 91% chance that one of us will need care. Nearly half the time, both spouses do. And while I love my husband dearly, I know that being his sole caregiver could take a heavy toll on my health, my peace of mind, and our retirement security. But it's not just about us. I think about our children too. Without a plan, they could be faced with hard decisions, financial strain, or even stepping into caregiving roles we never intended for them. That's not the legacy we want to leave. Proactive planning gives us the tools to face the future with confidence. It means I won't have to shoulder the burden of care alone if my husband needs help. It ensures that the financial resources we've worked so hard to build are protected, so our retirement isn't derailed. And perhaps most importantly, it protects our children from having to take on the emotional and financial strain of caring for us when they have their own lives and families to focus on. With a plan in place, I feel a sense of peace knowing that we've done everything we can to safeguard our future. It's about honoring the life we've built together and protecting our family from challenges we can prepare for today.
And for those clients that have assets, many of them say, I have the assets that we need to pay for care, but they don't understand the consequences of converting assets to cash flow. And in our long-term care planning toolkit, we have a flyer dedicated just to that issue for those people that are concerned about, that feel that they want to self-fund long-term care. But this video will describe some of the consequences of converting assets to cash flow.
Hello, I'm Alex, a financial advisor who specializes in helping couples like you secure a stable and comfortable retirement. Today, I want to talk about a challenge that many of my clients face, but often don't think about until it's too late: the cost of long-term care and how it can impact your retirement plans. Long-term care is expensive. Whether it's in-home care, assisted living, or a nursing facility, these costs can quickly create a significant cash flow problem for retirees. For example, monthly care expenses can range from $5,000 to over $10,000, depending on the type of care and location. That's a substantial amount to suddenly add to your budget. Now, you might think, we'll just use our savings or investments to cover these costs. But here's the issue. Converting your assets into cash flow to pay for care can have significant and often overlooked consequences. First, liquidating assets from your portfolio during a market downturn can lock in losses, dramatically reducing your overall wealth. This is what we call sequence of returns risk. The timing of withdrawals can mean the difference between your portfolio lasting 20 years or running out after just 10. Second, taxes. Many retirees don't realize that pulling large sums from tax-deferred accounts like IRAs to cover long-term care expenses can push you into a higher tax bracket. This not only increases your immediate tax bill, but can also trigger additional taxes on Social Security benefits and Medicare premium surcharge charges. For example, taking an extra $10,000 from your IRA might seem straightforward, but when you factor in the ripple effects, higher income taxes, additional Social Security taxes, and potential Medicare premium increases, that withdrawal could cost you 40 to 50% more than you expected. I've seen too many couples face these challenges without a plan. They're forced to make difficult choices like selling investments at a loss, depleting savings meant for other goals, or even sacrificing their financial legacy for their children. But it doesn't have to be this way. There are ways to protect your retirement from these risks. Asset-based long-term care coverage is one example. It's a strategy that allows you to convert a portion of your assets into a tax-efficient solution for covering care costs, preserving the rest of your portfolio, and ensuring your legacy remains intact. Planning ahead for long-term care isn't just about covering costs. It's about protecting your lifestyle, your financial security, and your peace of mind. By addressing this now, you can avoid the pitfalls of reactive decisions and enjoy the retirement you've worked so hard to achieve.
Now, again, you don't have to play all of the videos, but as people start to have those objections, it makes sense to play those videos for them. If you know it's a married couple, the spouses, the retirement income, if you know they have adult children that aren't living locally, the adult children video, all of these videos can help reinforce and tell the story of needing long-term care. Now, when we talk about planning for long-term care, and one of the things you provide us when we're doing this quote is where in the country they're most likely going to need long-term care. And in this case, in this illustration, it's in Northport, Bradenton, and Sarasota, Florida. And as you can see, in 2025, the average blended cost of long-term care was $7,550, but they're most likely not going to need care today. Now, again, this was a couple age 60 years old, so we projected that at 3% compound inflation out to their joint age of 80, and that is $13,636. And all of the quotes that we're going to provide is based on this monthly cost of $13,636. Now, when we provide the long-term care planning summary, we're going to provide 3 versions of it, where we're insuring 100% of that risk, 75% of that risk, and 50% of that risk. I'm not a big believer in insuring 100% of the risk. In Florida, we like to say the juice has to be worth the squeeze. They can afford to self-fund some of the risk and find a nice spot as far as premium and benefits to shift part of that risk to the insurance company. Now, that blended cost of care is simply the average of the informal care, home health care, assisted living, and nursing home, assuming that a person is going to move through the different levels of care. If your client wants to see those costs of care and compare it, they can click on that QR code there or scan it, and it will take them to an area where they can choose the state, choose the city, and see what those costs of cares are and project it out, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, as far as they would like. So we're giving you and your client this access to this data as well. Now, when we talk about planning for long-term care, it is all about creating leverage. And people have different assets that they can fund from. Now, remember, we already established long-term care as a cash flow problem, not an asset problem. But they're going to have to liquidate assets in order to fund long-term care. And if we have a monthly cost of $13,636, and they're going to rely on their qualified funds, their IRAs, their 401ks, they're going to have to liquidate $19,480 in IRA funds, pay $4,313 in taxes to get to that $13,636 benefit. If it's non-qualified funds that's subject to capital gains tax, they're going to have to liquidate $16,042. If it's an emergency fund, if it's cash, something they've already paid taxes on, of course, it's just dollar for dollar, $13,636. And if it is tax-free funds, if we can plan for it with long-term care, we can get up to a 75% discount, and you're going to see how that works in this long-term care planning summary. So this is what all of this is about. It's about creating leverage. It's about getting $1 to do the work of $4 or $6 or even more. The first option I always like to show is an option that is a full liquidity option. And what I mean by that is we're moving money from the left pocket to the right pocket. At any time you can cash it in and get all of your money back, so you're not really spending your money. Let's say you have $220,000 in an emergency fund in CDs. You could move the $220,000 into this product, and if you decided you wanted all your money back at any time, you could cash it back. When we send over the long-term care planning summary, we also send over the underlying illustrations. This happens to be One America's asset care product. It is a joint and survivor life product. It is a single premium whole life product with a long-term care benefit and the return of premium rider. So what does this mean? For a premium of $226,697, in other words, we're moving it from the left pocket to the right pocket, we can cover, and here on the illustration, you can see that premium of $220,697. We can cover 100% of that projected amount, which is $13,636. Now, once again, we will provide a copy that shows you 75% of the projected cost and 50% of the projected cost. But when you look back at the illustration, you can see that $13,633 is per person. If they were both on care at the same time, it would be a monthly benefit of $27,272. And remember, that's their projected cost at age 80. With One America, we're not using an inflation rider because, quite frankly, it's just more expensive than buying the level benefit. That gives them a combined pool of money of $981,792. Now, the way I like to explain this is imagine that you have a joint checking account, and here it is on the illustration, with $981,792. You can each write a check for $13,636 out of that account, but you're drawing off that same joint checking account. And when that account reaches zero, you've exhausted the benefit. It has no further benefit. If just one person is on claim, that would pay for 72 months or 6 years. And you can see this here on the illustration. The way it actually works is you pay the first 2 years as an acceleration of benefits. So it's an acceleration of the $327,264 death benefit. Once you have exhausted your death benefit, there's an additional 4 years, which is the COB or continuation of benefits. It keeps paying the $13,636. It's just, is it coming from the face amount, or is the face amount exhausted and it's coming from the continuation of benefits? If you don't need it for long-term care, remember, it's a joint policy, so it's a second to die death benefit of $327,264. So we are taking that $220,000 that could be in a money market fund, a CD, could be their emergency fund that they earmarked for long-term care. We are keeping complete liquidity. If they don't need it for long-term care, worst case scenario, they're getting $327,000 out of it. If they have a short long-term care claim, let's say it pays out $100,000 in benefit, their beneficiaries will get $227,000 on the second to die death benefit. The long-term care claim is going to reduce the death benefit dollar for dollar. So the way I like to explain it is, if you hold this policy to completion, the minimum your family is going to get out of this is $327,000, either all in death benefit, a combination of long-term care and death benefit, or at any time. And there's the death benefit there in the illustration of $327,264. Or at any time, you can just walk away, cash it in, and get your $220,000 back. Now, just be aware, if you're the agent on this case and they cash it in the first year, there's going to be a chargeback in your commission. But when you look at the illustration, and this is guaranteed, the cash surrender value at all times is at least $220,697. So we're literally moving money from the left pocket to the right pocket, turning it into $327,000 in death, $981,000 if they need it for long-term care, payable at a rate of $13,636 per person. If they're both on claim at the same time, it'll be twice that amount. And if they decide they don't want the plan, they can cash it in at any time and get their $220,000 back. So what is this really costing them? Well, what it's really costing them is the interest they would have earned on that $220,000 in a money market fund that is completely liquid. But we're taking this $220,697,000 and turning it into $981,792. And if you remember, we said this is all about creating leverage. So what kind of leverage are we creating? We have a premium of $220,000. We've moved it from the left pocket to the right pocket. So for every dollar we've moved from the left pocket to the right pocket, for long-term care, we're getting it to do the work of $4.49 by turning it into $981,792. Remember, we said you can get up to a 75% discount for long-term care. So that $220,000 is completely liquid. We're turning every dollar into $4.49 for long-term care. And that's if it's just tax-free money. If we had to take that $981,000 out of our IRAs, we'd actually have to liquidate $1,402,000 to pay an income tax burden of $420,000. If it was non-qualified funds and subject to capital gains tax, we'd have to liquidate $1,155,000 in order to get $981,000. If it was a cash asset, we'd have to grow that cash asset to $981,000 after taxes, and we're paying dollar for dollar. Here, we're getting $1 to do the work of $4.49, and that's the leverage we're creating. The next option we're going to show is what we call the maximum leveraged option. And this is Nationwide Care Matters Together product. Again, it's a joint policy issued on a husband and wife. We have a single pay option of $233,482, so it's slightly more. And you can see that on the illustration, $233,481. But we also have other payment options. We don't have to single pay it. We can pay a premium, for lack of a better term, finance it over 5 years for $50,053. We can pay the premium over 10 years of $28,143. We can pay the premium over 20 years at $18,318. Or we can do a pay to age 100 of the older insured at $15,898 a month. Now, once again, we're keeping it consistent at 100% of the monthly cost, but with Nationwide, their inflation rider makes sense. So we're starting off with a monthly benefit of $7,550, and at their joint age of 80, it's going to grow to $13,636. And you can see that on the illustration, day one benefit of $7,550, and age 80, $13,636. We're starting off with an initial total pool of money. Now, once again, like One America, this is a joint, think of this as a joint checking account that they're both drawing against, of $805,000, and it's growing to $1,450,000. $55,000. And once again, you can see that on the illustration. $805,000 growing to $1,455,000. If one person is on claim, that's a combined benefit of 96 months. And if they don't use it for long-term care, the tax-free death benefit is $271,800. And once again, you can see that on the illustration, $271,800. So what we're doing in this case is taking $233,482 on a single pay premium and turning it into $1,455,000. So when we talk about leverage, this is why this is called maximum leverage. We're taking $200,000, so for every dollar we put in, we're getting it to do the work of $6.23. A total of $1,455,000 in joint long-term care benefit base at their age 80. And again, that is guaranteed. If we were going to fund this out of tax-qualified funds, we'd have to liquidate over $2 million to get that same $1,455,000. If it's subject to capital gains tax, it's $1,711,000. If it's cash assets, of course, it's dollar for dollar. And by using the $233,000 of premium, we are getting $1 to do the work of $6. So we're creating leverage again. Now, many people may have had an experience with a cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and those are the ones that lead to long claims. So we also always like to show a lifetime benefit period. And only one carrier has a lifetime benefit. That is One America on their asset care product. And what we're looking at is a single premium of $268,510. So it is a higher premium, about $35,000 more than what Nationwide was. And again, you'll see that in the illustration, $268,510. On the illustration, you'll also see the different payment options. So they have a 5-pay option of $71,805. Of course, a 10-pay option at $36,873. A 20-pay option of $23,625, and a pay to 95 of $19,377. Doesn't matter how they fund it, the benefits are going to remain the same. And once again, we're showing this at 100% of the projected cost. We will send you 3 versions of this, 100%, 75%, and 50%. But of course, we can dial it into any monthly benefit they want or any premium they want. The monthly benefit per person is $13,636. If they're both on claim at the same time, it's going to pay out twice that amount. And you can see that once again on the illustration. And if they were both on claim, it would pay out $27,272 per month. And it is an unlimited lifetime benefit period. So the way it works is, once again, it's an unlimited lifetime benefit period. The first 2 years is funded by accelerating the death benefit. So the death benefit is spent down dollar for dollar. And then once the $327,264 of death benefit is spent, it switches over to the continuation of benefits, and that is a lifetime benefit period. If they don't need it for long-term care, it has a tax-free death benefit of $327,000. And we can't do that same calculation for leverage, where $1 is doing the work of $4, $1 is doing the work of $6. And that's because of the unlimited lifetime benefit period. So instead, what we did is there was a study published in 2018 of some of the longest claims, 14 years, 19 years, the total cost, and the total amount paid out. And it's broken down by male and female. So as you can see, this long-term care planning summary is telling a story. And with the videos that are integrated into it, it's telling a compelling story for your clients to help them make that decision. And what we want to really focus on is the leverage that's created. We can simply move money from the right pocket to the left pocket, keep it completely liquid, and in this case, get $1 to do the work about $4. We can lose some of that liquidity, but still have the death benefit and get with Nationwide and get $1 to do the work of about $6. Or we can look at that unlimited lifetime benefit with One America and get $1 to do the work of an unlimited or lifetime pool of money. Once again, my name is Tom Vasallo with MRW Financial Brokerage. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.